And thank you all for tuning in to the LD9 Town Hall. We had some great news today about Invest in Ed. That's why I have my Arizona Educators United Red for Ed t-shirt on today. And we're going to have David Lujan from the Center for Arizona Progress and Marilyn Rodruguez from Creosote Partners, and they're going to be talking about the 4 initiatives. And we know now that Invest in Ed will be on the ballot. Woo! But we were hoping for the other 3 also. And so we're going to get an update on all 3 of them. And we're going to let our guests take a lot of the stage tonight because all of us, want to know what's going on. And there's a lot of details about these initiatives. We heard from these 2, the Democratic caucus did last week, and it was very enlightening on all the nuances of what's going on and the forces trying to keep these initiatives off the ballot. So Marilyn voted to have David go first, and since he's the one with the big news, we're going to let David go first. So take it away, David Lujan.
Thank you. Thanks, Representative. Thank you, Marilyn, for letting me go first. Yes, I thought we wouldn't have any news tonight, but this afternoon we got the Supreme Court decision overruling the lower court decision and putting Invest in Ed on the ballot. So yay, we're very excited about that. It is a huge relief for us. Ever since we were knocked off the ballot in 2018, we have been working to restructure and create a ballot initiative that would meet the objectives of what we wanted to do, but also to make sure that we met the requirements of the Supreme Court decision from 2018. That's why we were so disappointed and so surprised when the lower court decision came out a few weeks ago, because we were so confident that it met what the Supreme Court required. And the fact that we got a unanimous decision today by this Supreme Court, where 5 of the 7 justices have been appointed by Governor Ducey, all 7 are Republican appointees. The fact that we got a unanimous decision from that Supreme Court says a lot. And so we are so excited. We're excited for Arizona voters, because Arizona voters are going to get to decide this now. And we are excited for Arizona students, Arizona teachers, everyone who works in our schools, parents, because this is a big deal. If this passes in November, it means, according to our revenue estimates, $940 million every year in new investments for our public schools, money that will go to teacher salaries, but also all support staff salaries, so school nurses, school counselors, classroom aides, bus drivers, cafeteria workers, and that means that schools can also hire more of those people. So in a state where we have some of the largest class sizes in the country, where we have one of the worst teacher shortage crisis in the country, this will go a long way towards addressing both of those issues. And that means a lot for educational attainment too, because when you have a qualified, certified teacher in every classroom, that means the quality of education that our students are going to receive will be better, and that's good for our workforce, and it's good for our economy. So this is all great news, I think, that Arizona voters are going to get this opportunity. We are not there yet, though. Now starts the campaign, and I can guarantee you that our opposition, the Arizona Chamber of Commerce, that represents the high-paid CEOs and have not done one thing to put their own plan in place to fund our schools, they're going to throw everything at this, including millions of dollars, to try and defeat this. And so the work now begins to push back against all of the disinformation that they're going to try and put out there. We already saw that in this legal challenge. They're going to say how terrible this is for small businesses and how terrible it is for our economy. And nothing could be further from the truth. This is great for small businesses. Think about, in most of our rural communities in Arizona, our public schools are some of the largest employers in those rural communities. What more could you do for the small businesses in those communities than to give raises to the largest employer, the employees of the largest employers in those communities? That means more money for people to go and spend in small businesses. It means more money invested towards developing our future workforce. that's great for business. And you know, you're going to hear how all this gloom and doom about how businesses are not going to want to move to Arizona. What I would say is, how many businesses have already decided not to come to Arizona because of the poor funding for our public schools? So when we invest in our public schools, this is a good thing. Businesses are going to want to come here. People are going to want to come here. They're going to want to create jobs here. So I'm so excited. I think this is great. Just if you don't know what Invest in Ed does, it is establishes a surcharge on the top 1% of earners in Arizona. So these are people that if you're a single filer, you making $250,000 or more a year in taxable income, or for married filers, those who are making $500,000 or more a year in taxable income. So these are not people that are struggling to put food on the table during this economic crisis. These are not your typical mom and pop small businesses. These are people who are doing very well and who have benefited over the last few years from all of the tax cuts, both at the federal and state level. So this will make our tax code fair in Arizona. It will give us the investments that we need for our public schools. And if you can't tell, I'm pretty excited. So looking forward to this.
So I had a question, David. It seems like the idea it's going to hurt small businesses is sort of a canard, you know, because it's a fee on high income earners, and a lot of people who are small business owners are not making 250,000 or more. A lot of them are really just kind of get by, you know, and trying to make it through the virus. And so I you know, I mean, I think we could shoot holes in that argument. Obviously, they're going to have a lot of money in it, but money doesn't always win, especially not down here in Tucson.
Right.
So I have hope.
Oh, I have a lot of hope too. You know, one of the things I think the Chamber of Commerce took a risk as part of this legal challenge. One of their arguments was that our 100-word summary should have said that this was going to hurt or was going to be a tax on small businesses. And so this trial, this 3-day trial that we had a couple of weeks ago, the Chamber put in their expert witness, an economist here in Arizona, and we put in our expert witness, a U of A professor, Professor Swain, and I would say that our side really just destroyed the Chamber's witness and you know, their arguments that this was going to tax businesses, because it's exactly as you said. When on cross-examination in the deposition, it was very clear that, you know, yes, there are some people in that top 1% who get income from businesses, but businesses themselves are not taxed. And the business owners who are in that top 1%, first of all, it's a very small percentage, and those are not your typical small businesses. So I think we will be able to show that in this campaign, but I think, you know, for all of you, I think the thing you can do is just push back when you hear those arguments, because that's going to be the biggest argument. You know, I've seen polling in recent days about, you know, how people are feeling during this economic crisis we're going through. And one of the biggest things that voters are concerned about is the impact of small businesses and not wanting to see small businesses close. So I can see why our opposition wants to use that argument, because that's a fear that many Arizonans have. They don't want to see small businesses hurt during this COVID crisis. And the one thing I think that we can push back is that Invest in Ed does nothing, will not hurt small businesses at all, because the businesses that are struggling will not be taxed 1 cent. And in fact, this helps those businesses, because the best thing that we can do to help Arizona recover from this COVID crisis, the best thing that we can do to help small businesses come out of this crisis stronger than before, is to invest in our public schools. You know, one of the things I think we've seen from this COVID crisis is that the impacts of systemic racism, the impacts of poverty in our state, and what's the most effective strategies that you can do to help address systemic racism, that you can do to address poverty. It's investing in education. Giving people the opportunity to get an education puts more money in their pockets in the long run. So you know, the arguments you're going to hear about how this is an attack on small businesses could not be farther from the truth. And so that's going to be our objective over the next couple of months, is to push back on those arguments.
Can I ask a question?
I was gonna say, it looks like Dr. Freeze has a question. Jump in there, buddy.
Thank you, Pam. David, help me understand how this decision today is not a complete admission of making a mistake 2 years ago. The Supreme Court.
Oh, well, I don't know that it's an admission by the Supreme Court that they made a mistake, but it would, if they had ruled against us, it would have, I think, then have just really shown that their decision 2 years ago had no meaning, because we did exactly what they said to do in this ruling, which is why we were so confident that, at least I was, I don't know if a lot of people were, that this Supreme Court would overrule the lower court decision. So I'm not quite sure, but I think what you're saying is what we did in response to the 2008 decision is we restructured this, and rather than increasing the income tax rates, which is what we did in 2018, we created a brand new surcharge. And so that was what was so surprising about the lower court's decision, is the lower court judge just completely missed that.
I thought, if you don't mind a follow-up, I thought that both decisions, both in 2018 and just today, were based on the 100-word summary, not simply the structure of your generating the revenue. So wasn't there something about the 100-word summary as well in 2018?
Yeah, so they were both based on the 100-word summary, but I think what the 100-word summary, what their decision in 2018 basically said is that you don't have to include everything in that 100-word summary. It can't be misleading or it can't be fraudulent. And in 2018, it was the way we wrote it, there was a subjective, I think we were still right in 2018, but there was a subjective disagreement in terms of how it described what it did. So in 2020, this one, it's the same standard that they created, but there was no misinterpretation. We gave the exact amount of the surcharge, so that we took the subjectivity out of it. And so I think tied the hands of the Supreme Court. They couldn't rule any other way.